Okay, so here we are over on the Earth Sonic site. earthsonic.org is the website. Click it in the link below. And what we want to do is we want to come over to the sounds archive here. Okay. Now, you can actually submit your own sounds if you've done some recording yourself of nature. Read the description here. It's going to give you a good overview. But we're interested in going to the downloads page. And this is going to take you to their SoundCloud. And they have got this selection here, which we can download directly. Give them a follow. Follow me doing that. And yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to just give these a quick listen. And we're going to go see which ones we want to download. But I think I'm just going to download all of these 8. Because, yeah, there's not too many of them here to download just yet. Very nice. Very textured. Okay, so just click on the 3 dots over there. Click download. Oh, nice. Yeah, some really interesting textures in that one. Download it as well. We're going to really kind of dissect these once we get them into Ableton. Oh, really nice. Yeah, bird sounds in general are really quite good to use. You can get some very interesting results from them. Thunderstorms and rain, it's always good for atmospherics. Nice, small water, good. Yep, fine. Oh, need to do that. Load. Interesting. I mean, that's almost rhythmical already, right? That's almost rhythmical already. Interesting. I think that's one we're going to look at today. And yeah, let's look at kind of pulling rhythm from these kind of samples. Because the world is full of rhythm, right? You just need to know where to loop it. So, yeah, well, I'll expand on that in a moment. So now that I've downloaded them, what I want to do is I'm going to just go over to my downloads. I'm going to take all of these, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click new folder, and we'll call them Earth Sonic 1, ES1 for now. And I'm going to copy this, copy that, come over to my main library. If you do want some advice on how to arrange your Ableton projects and your Ableton folders and all the samples and stuff, check out the link in the description. I'll put a blog article that I did. And I'm going to paste it into my 2025 library here. I know mine looks like a mess. You know, I'm just beyond the point of caring now. I've started organizing my samples from about 2018. All these other ones you see are all the ones I've collected in the time before that, and you know, I've just got better things to do than spend literally days of my life organizing my samples when I kind of know where all the ones are. I organize them in other ways. But anyway, less of that. I'm just going to paste that in here. I'm going to go take that and actually just move it into my 2025 folder. So here we are inside of Ableton. I've actually just opened up a housey project for this because I think we're going to start this journey just looking at the most basic ways in which we can use the field recordings. And the most basic way is literally using it to create a sense of atmosphere, to create an ambience within your music. And you can really find some very interesting results, especially when you're using things like nature. And it's why I've loaded this project here, which is a bit more of a kind of a stripped back house track. Just play it for now. I'm just going to play a single loop. So this is kind of what I've got here currently going on. It's quite stripped back. So there is a lot of room still within this mix to go and put in some sort of atmosphere, and I think it's going to be quite fun just to kind of load in the samples that we've just downloaded, the field recordings, and just go see what we've got there and talk about some basic processing that you can add to these to try and get it to fit with what you've already got going on. Now, coming over to my library in the ES1, I'm going to go and just put all of these over here. Actually, let's just get a brand new channel. A brand new audio channel, and I'm just going to go drop these on. So all of these, I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this one for a rhythmical idea. So maybe not in this video. But today here, I just want to look at these and just go sort of start exploring what we've got. Now, sometimes it's quite fun to do this by just literally playing the track and flicking through these to see what's there. It always yields some sort of interesting result. But the whole idea is that we're going to try and fill the space a little bit more just by playing one or two of these. I'm just going to bring the volume down a touch. Okay, so that's quite interesting. That's already quite atmospheric. I think I'm going to come down to my processing here. I'm just going to turn on this, and I'm just going to take out the very low end because I don't want too much muddiness from this. And I think I'm also going to take out the very tops. Okay, I'll leave them in there. Let's go add a bit of reverb to this. So what this is essentially doing already, it's filling the track. It's quite loud in the mix currently, just because I'm trying to listen to exactly what's going on. But we will kind of blend that a little bit better in a moment. And I think what I'll do is, once I've done this, I'm just going to go flick through all of these. So let's go stick on a bit of a reverb. And the reverb's just going to add a little bit of blending to this sound and just kind of increase this atmosphere. So there are a couple of different ones we can use. I think I'm going to go use the normal reverb for this. We'll look at the hybrid reverb in a moment. I'm just going to go put a reverb on here, and we're just going to go and just increase the overall atmosphere. Now I'm going to put the EQ at the end. I always like to put the EQ at the end of every chain, just to make sure I'm on top of things. And let's just go see how this is going. So currently we've got quite a large room size. I'm going to turn the high cut off because I do want the top end being fed into this. So let's just hear how that sounds. Let's solo it. Now, here's one thing to notice. You can see here that we've got these yellow markers across the top, which are warp markers. And the reason is because I'm currently, as I've dropped this in, Ableton has warped this sample. Now, it's currently warping to beats. That means it's analyzing this sample as if it were beats. Now, we don't want that. If anything, we want either tones, textures, or with all else fails, complex, and complex pro works quite well. But I'm just going to go change it to tones. Okay, that's quite granular now. Let's go see what texture's saying. That's a bit smoother. Complex Pro is going to give us the most natural tone. Now, we've got quite a lot of low ends still in that. Let's go take some of that out by increasing the, or decreasing the low end, or the mid-range. Let's increase the decay. Let's get this really hitting. So, off. Bring the volume down. Okay, interesting. Let's go listen to what all the others sound like when we just drop them in. And some of these are definitely better for just atmosphere. If we're looking for kind of just atmosphere, we're looking for something like this. A waveform that looks like this normally means there's some sort of sustained noise going on. Okay, just to give you a bit of an idea there, this is the rain. Okay, let's turn it off. And what we're going to do is we're going to put on a auto filter on this as well. just to try and get a little bit of movement with this. I'm going to add a little bit of resonance just so we get this sweeping effect. And I'm going to turn the rate well down. And this is creating this kind of like background white noise that's just filling the space. And I want a tiny bit of LFO. I don't want a lot. But you can hear how we're just using it as an ambience to fill this space, to fill, almost creates like a gel for the rest of the track to sit in. And that's really kind of the secret of this, of how ambience, or how field recordings can be used to add this extra flavor. Let's try and see what this one does, because it can really add an environment as well. I think with this sound, we're going to get something quite interesting. Okay, really throwing our track into the jungle with that one. Bit of EQ, bit of reverb, just allows this to all blend in. I think what we could do here though, this starting point is a really nice white noise. It's just adding this kind of, this atmospheric gel for the track to sit in. So let's just go and loop this. So I'm going to highlight this section, press Command and L. Now obviously this attack, this rise in volume here is creating this sweeping effect, which is quite nice. But if you want something that's just a little bit more steady, find an area of it where you can just loop, where the volume is pretty consistent throughout. And it doesn't have to be loud to create this ambient effect, this atmospheric. And the brain loves white noise, all right? Our ear loves white noise. It's kind of comforting to us. So it's in a way, it kind of just adds, it fills the space just by adding this in. It fills the track. It's not meant to be super present for this technique. It's just there as almost like a reverb. We use reverb on sounds to create a sense of space. Well, what we're doing with these samples is we're taking a recording of a space and we're just setting that in the very background of our track to essentially do the same thing. Yeah, we've added some reverb on it just to give it a little bit more presence and a little bit more space. But the technique is really just using one of these atmospheric recordings to put the track into an environment and to give it almost the same kind of feeling as if you were adding reverb to everything. So this technique is used a lot in a lot of different types of music. This is obviously from an absolute basic point of view with some very basic processing to add onto it. And we're going to go further with this as far as technical sound design. But for those beginners out there looking to kind of, find an easy way just to how do I start experimenting with this, this is a technique that is used regularly in many different types of music to create that atmosphere. This one's really nice. Very interesting. It's almost creating a rhythm that's offbeat. It's not working with the rest of the track, but it's creating this kind of drift. And again, putting the track into a space, into an environment. Instantly, it's put the track, into a nighttime jungle. So let's go jump into a different track to see how we can apply the same idea. I'm just going to go load one of my kind of just half-made tracks, and we'll just see how we can use these samples again, these Earth Sonic ones, just to see how we can add a little bit of atmosphere. Okay, so I've loaded in a very basic kind of, well, I'll play it you without these first. So kind of like a rough two-step with a nice big harmonic chord going on there. Let's go and see what we can do. So on the actual effect themselves, let's just play it raw. Okay, I've just brought the volume down. Interesting. The crickets or the cicadas, whatever they are, in this sample is kind of creating a really nice rhythm with the rest of the track. And again, not quite perfectly on beat. It's the randomness of nature is kind of drifting against the track, which is I really like. With that kind of white noise you've got drifting over the top. Just adding another layer of atmosphere. Let's go do some processing on this one. I'm gonna drag that one over there, just on its own. Before I do anything with this, let's go listen to the others. Adding birds in, why not? Quite nice. And again, no effects are on this at the moment, so again, that just works. It works with the mood of this track. The scale that I've written this chord in. This, even though I've done nothing to it yet, some of them just kind of lend itself. And again, you can end up taking your project left field if you're doing it at this stage. In other videos, we're going to build a track from the ground up using these, so the atmosphere is an integral part from the very start. But here I'm just showing you the idea of adding one of these atmospheres into the process of making a tune to create the atmosphere. So yeah, you can end up taking it completely left field and completely in a different direction, depending on the atmosphere and depending on what the field recording is. Okay, now we've got some rain. Again, fitting with this somber chord that I've got playing here. Let's go add some processing to these. Maybe we can layer a couple of these together in order to kind of create an overall ambience. So I think on this one here, this is the rain. I'm going to go just add some effects onto it. So I think what I'll add is definitely go and get an EQ on there, just to tidy it up, just to make sure that the frequencies I'm letting in with this are indeed the ones I want. Now this is, I think this is the thunderstorm one, so there's going to be quite a lot of low end rumble in this, which maybe I don't want. So I'm going to go take out the very low, and again I'm just going to kind of let this play. Maybe I'll loop a little bit. Maybe we can just loop this section here. Looping this section here is just going to allow us to yeah, just to kind of like really solidify this as an atmosphere. Again, because you can see over here, we've got these thunders, the thunder sounds, and we don't necessarily want that. I want it just this to be a consistent atmosphere. That kind of feeling of like a rainy day. You know, it's really fitting with the chord that I've got going on here. So let's go add a little bit of reverb to this. So this time I'm going to go use one of my more favorite reverbs, which is the hybrid reverb. And I'm going to go and put on purely a convolution on this. So again, left side is convolution, right side is algorithmic. The blend allows you to pick and choose which one or blend them. And I'm going to go just maybe use like a real places. Now this is putting this atmosphere inside a room now, which isn't necessarily the idea what I wanted, but it can just add an extra bit of blend to the overall feeling. Now it feels like we're inside and it's raining outside. I quite like that effect. I quite like that what that's done. Let's just bring down the dry wet a little bit. It's almost like we're going to open the door and we're going to hear it outside now a bit more. Okay, let's open the door. Somewhere there. And just this natural texture of nature can really add something that feels more natural, okay? This is any field recording. I think the goal when it comes to atmosphere, it just adds, I wouldn't say a humanness to this because there's no voices or anything in this, but it adds a really natural ambience. It feels like we are in nature. It feels like there is something that resonates with the soul when you've got these kind of natural sounds present in your track. And I think for stuff like this type of music, it depends what you're trying to lean into. If you're trying to make purely techno and it's, you know, machine driven, maybe you don't want this. But definitely for things like house music, trip hop, hip hop, and whatever you're trying to make that might be a little bit what we call organic, this is a great way to kind of add an organic feel to your track. Just adding these atmospheres. So let's go and add the second one and layer this on top. I will go and just get myself another hybrid reverb loaded up there already, ready to go. And I'm gonna go get an EQ8. I'm gonna stick that at the end there. Okay, let's just play this through. Now again, same thing, alright? On here I'm doing it by beats. Let's just change it to Complex Pro, see if that changes anything. Not really, not too much on that white noise. Definitely here though, I wanna go change this. Let's change that to Complex Pro. I'm gonna go play it from this. In fact, we have got this volume increase again here. So I think what I'll do is I'll just keep that from there. Let's just see how this sounds. Okay, I'm going to bring this right down. Just going to slowly bring this up into the mix until it's just sat there. I'm going to go take out the very lows, get rid of any muddiness that's in this. And because I've got this one sitting at the top end, it's adding a lot of brightness, right? I'm going to go move that over to there. I'm going to go maybe take the top end out of this one. There's not a massive amount in there, but there is something. Okay, now I can probably bring this a bit louder. Playing around with the EQ here just to kind of see where I want things sitting. We are actually getting a little bit. Let's just play around with these texture. And if you don't know about these, you know, I'll go a bit. I'm going to be diving deeper into all the different warp modes, especially for this particular series. But for now, it's really what Ableton is focusing on preserving when you are adding warp, because when you add warp to this stuff, Ableton moves the transients around in order to make it work. So it can end up sounding a little bit digital on the wrong warp mode. So this is kind of why we will go into deep into this. But in general, if you're trying to preserve like the natural recording, Complex and Complex Pro are the ones. All the other ones are gonna kind of edit the sound wave and edit the sound and add artifacts to it. So keeping it to Complex and Complex Pro is going to give you the more natural result, typically. Just going to group these two together. And again, just really setting it off in the background there, just to create a sense of space. Super subtle. You can have it as present or as, you know, in the background as you like. But that's a very basic way of using field recordings to add atmosphere to your track. Load it in, reverb, EQ, just these two things alone will allow you to kind of blend it into your mix and to add to the overall atmosphere. Now, this has been the absolute top level view of what we can do with these. We're going to get a lot more deeper. This is definitely aimed for more beginners today. How you can just drop them in to your tracks at any stage, really, but I recommend doing it earlier on in the production process. But what you can find is that quite often, especially early on in your production journey, it can be quite hard to know exactly what frequencies are lacking. Things can sound very sparse if you don't have a good understanding of how to use reverb to create a sense of space. And these atmospheres are a brilliant way to just give the overall track an atmosphere to sit in. And that's really what I wanted to demonstrate today. So what I think we'll do next session is we're going to look at how we can edit these further. Currently, we've really just used them in their raw recorded form, dropped them in, added a little bit of basic processing. But what we're going to do next is we're going to take a look at what we can do as far as editing and manipulating these samples into something different. We're going to go on a little bit of a sound design journey and start entering that world of what we can actually do with these clips. Again, quite a beginner level thing. Check out the rhythm one where I make a techno track from scratch using these samples. But yeah, the next video we're going to go and dive into, okay, what can we actually do within this section here to turn this into something different. So I think we'll start a brand new track and we'll just start doing a little bit of exploratory sound design. So if you do like this kind of stuff, please do like and subscribe. As I said, it really helps me out. If you are interested in getting on some one-on-one sessions with me, whether you're a beginner, intermediate or advanced, check out my website and drop me a message. I do a free session where you can talk to me about your journey so far. We can try and discover how we can help you out. So once again, thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one.